The warning siren screamed across Valaria Prime as another wave of Krolex bioships broke through the orbital defense grid. Ambassador Thylan pressed his forearms against the communication console, his blue skin turning pale with fear. The Valerian Republic had fought bravely for 6 months, but their fleets were almost gone. Their worlds were dying one by one. "My Lord Ambassador," his aide whispered, "the Council fleet has retreated to the inner systems. We have perhaps 3 days before the Krolex reached the homeworld." Thylan closed his large eyes and tried to think. The Krolex swarm had consumed 17 civilizations in the past century. They ate everything. Planets, moons, entire star systems became empty space after the swarm passed through. No species had ever stopped them. The Galactic Council could only run and hide. But there was one last hope. Deep in the ancient databases, Thylan had found something interesting. Records from a failed exploration mission to a small yellow star system. The explorers had found a world there. A terrible world that the survey team called a Class 12 death world. The reports described a planet so violent and dangerous that no civilized species could survive there. Yet something did survive there. Something that called itself human. The survey team had been so frightened by what they found that they recommended the entire system be marked as forbidden. The humans were described as savage, violent, and completely insane. They fought wars against each other constantly. They lived on a world that tried to kill them every day with storms, earthquakes, diseases, and predators. The worst part was that they seemed to enjoy it. "Sir," his aide said again, "the emergency evacuation ships are ready." "No," Thylan said firmly. "Send a message instead." "A message? To whom?" "To the humans." His aide stared at him. "Sir, the humans are in the Forbidden Zone. Contact with them is against all Galactic Council laws. They are classified as a dangerous primitive species. The Krolex will kill us all in 3 days," Thylan replied. "I think we can break a few laws." Thylan opened the ancient survey files and found the coordinates. Sol system, 3rd planet, a world they called Earth. The survey team had detected radio signals coming from the planet. If the humans were still alive after all these years, maybe they would listen. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Commander Wu Jin sat in his command chair aboard the Earth Defense Fleet flagship Indomitable. It was a quiet day. The morning patrol had found nothing unusual. The asteroid mining stations reported normal operations. The Mars colonies were sending their weekly supply requests. Wu Jin was reviewing crew reports when Lieutenant Nari rushed onto the bridge. "Commander," she said, breathing hard, "we're receiving an unknown transmission. It's not from any human source." Wu Jin sat up straight. "Pirates?" "No, sir. This is different. The transmission is using mathematical patterns and basic physics to create a translation matrix. Someone is trying to teach us their language. Show me." The main screen filled with strange symbols and sounds. Slowly, as the ship's computers worked through the translation, words began to appear in Korean. "Greetings to the humans of Earth. We are the Valerian Republic. We know your council has forbidden contact with your species, but we are desperate. A terrible enemy called the Krolex swarm is destroying our worlds. They have killed billions of our people. Our fleets cannot stop them. Please, if there is any mercy in your hearts, we beg for your help. We will share all our technology, all our resources. We only ask that you help us survive." The bridge fell silent. Captain Minho, who had been reviewing navigation charts, looked up in shock. "Sir," Nari said quietly, "there's more." The message continued. "We know what your world is like. We know you fight wars among yourselves. We know your planet is dangerous beyond imagination. We know the Council fears you and calls you savage. But we have read the old reports. You are survivors. You are warriors. You are the only species that might be able to fight the Krolex and win. Please answer our call. We are running out of time." Wu Jin stood up slowly. "How long until this message reaches Admiral Taehyung?" "It's already been sent, sir. Priority 1. Within an hour, every major military base on Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies had received the message. The reaction was immediate and intense. Admiral Taehyung called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. The room filled quickly with Earth's top military leaders. General Junsu represented the ground forces. Admiral Hyuna spoke for the Colonial Defense Fleet. Colonel Yunji came from the Special Operations Command. "Gentlemen, ladies," Admiral Taehyung began, "we have received humanity's first contact with alien life, and they're asking for our help in a war." He played the full message. The room stayed quiet as they listened to the desperate plea from across the galaxy. "What do we know about this Krolek swarm?" General Junsu asked. "Our computers have been analyzing the data they sent," Admiral Taehyung replied. "It's not good. The Kroleks appear to be a hive mind species that consumes entire worlds. They've destroyed dozens of civilizations. Their technology is advanced, but their tactics seem focused on overwhelming numbers and biological warfare. And they're asking us for help," Admiral Hyuna said thoughtfully. "A species that's never met us asking the savage humans to save them." "There's something else," Admiral Taehyung continued. "According to their data, the Galactic Council has known about us for over a century. They marked our entire system as forbidden because they were afraid of us." The room erupted in angry voices. Colonel Yunji slammed her hand on the table. "They've been watching us this whole time? Studying us like animals?" "It gets worse," the Admiral said. "They classify Earth as a Class 12 death world. Apparently, no other known species could survive on our planet for more than a few hours." Captain Minho, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Admiral, with respect, does any of this matter right now? There are people dying out there. They asked for our help." "The boy's right," General Junsu said. "We can worry about politics later. Right now, there's a war to fight." Admiral Taehyung looked around the room. "All in favor of responding to the Valerian plea for assistance?" Every hand in the room went up. "Then it's settled. Send a message back to the Valerians. Tell them the Earth Defense Fleet is coming." As the meeting broke up, officers rushed to their commands to begin mobilization. Within hours, every human military base in the solar system was buzzing with activity. The shipyards began working around the clock. Soldiers reported for duty in record numbers. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said, "No one gets left behind." Back on Valeria Prime, Ambassador Thylin waited nervously for a response. His world was dying around him, but he held on to a small hope that the savage humans might answer. Then the reply came. "Message received, Valerian Republic. The human species accepts your request for assistance. Earth Defense Fleet is mobilizing. Estimated arrival in your space. 14 days. Hold your positions. Help is coming." Signed, Admiral Taehyung, Supreme. Commander Terra Defense Forces. For the first time in months, Thylin smiled. The message from Admiral Taehyung reached every corner of human space within 6 hours. On Mars, Captain Jisoo was inspecting the new battle armor when her communication device buzzed. She read the message twice, then smiled coldly. "Attention, all Martian Defense Corps personnel," she announced over the base speakers. "We have our first real war. Report to your stations immediately. This is not a drill." The red planet erupted into activity. Mars had always been humanity's military stronghold. The harsh conditions and constant danger had created the toughest soldiers in human space. Captain Jisoo's Marines had fought in the colony wars, the asteroid rebellions, and countless smaller conflicts. They were ready. "Ma'am," Sergeant Kiwan said, running up with his gear already packed. "The boys are asking what we're up against." "Aliens, Sergeant. Mean ones that eat entire planets." Kiwan grinned. "Sounds fun. When do we leave?" Meanwhile, in the Outer Rim territories, Admiral Kangman received the same message aboard his flagship Frontier Justice. The Outer Rim was where humanity sent its toughest citizens. Pirates, rebels, and worse haunted these dark spaces between the stars. The men and women who patrolled here were hard as steel. "Signal all ships," Admiral Kangman ordered. "We're going to war." His fleet was not pretty to look at. Most ships were old, patched, and modified for fighting rather than comfort. But they were fast, deadly, and crewed by people who had survived in the most dangerous part of human space. Captain Minho, now aboard his heavy cruiser Soul's Pride, watched the outer rim ships join the growing fleet. These vessels looked like space pirates, but they fought like demons. Perfect for what was coming. Back on Earth, Colonel Yunji was selecting her best Special Forces teams. The Terra Guard was Earth's elite military unit. They trained in every environment Earth could offer: the frozen wastes of Antarctica, the burning deserts of Africa, the crushing depths of the ocean floors. "Listen up," she told her assembled officers. "We're going to fight an alien species that has never lost a war. They've destroyed dozens of civilizations. They think they're the toughest things in the galaxy." Captain Jinwoo, leader of the 3rd Special Battalion, raised his hand. "Colonel, what's our mission?" "Simple," Yunji replied. "We're going to show them what a real predator species looks like." The volunteers came from everywhere. Civilian freight pilots offered their ships. Asteroid miners brought their heavy equipment and explosives expertise. Even the scientific stations sent their people, eager to study alien technology up close. Dr. Soyeon worked frantically in her weapons research lab. The aliens had sent technical data about Krolex biology, hoping humans could develop new weapons. What she found fascinated and disgusted her. "They're basically living ships," she explained to her team. "Part machine, part creature. They grow their technology instead of building it." "Can we kill them?" asked her assistant. "Oh yes," Dr. Soyeon smiled. "I have several ideas, very painful ideas." Engineer Dongyun had his own problems. The civilian ships volunteering for the mission were built for cargo and passengers, not warfare. He had less than 2 weeks to turn merchant vessels into fighting ships. "Sir," his foreman reported, "we need more weapons, more armor, more power systems. The shipyards can't keep up." "Then we improvise," Donghyun replied. "Mount mining lasers as main guns. Use cargo containers as missile launchers. If it can hurt someone, bolt it to a ship." The transformation of human space was incredible to watch. Peaceful colonies became military bases overnight. Trade routes became supply lines. Every human settlement contributed something to the war effort. On Europa, the ice miners sent their thermal charges and deep drilling equipment. "If these Krolex things are biological," their leader explained, "extreme cold should hurt them plenty." The asteroid belt workers offered something even better: their expertise in zero-gravity combat. "We've been fighting in space our whole lives," their representative said. "These aliens probably never fought anyone who grew up in vacuum." Admiral Huna coordinated the massive logistics operation from Earth's moon. Thousands of ships needed fuel, supplies, weapons, and crew assignments. The numbers were staggering. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we have over 800 ships volunteering for the mission. That's 3 times larger than our entire regular Navy." "Any problems with crew assignments?" "The opposite problem, Admiral. We have 5 volunteers for every position available." The alien observers watching human space were terrified by what they saw. Hidden monitoring stations had been reporting to the Galactic Council for decades. Now they sent urgent warnings. "The humans are mobilizing their entire civilization for war," one report stated. "Their response time is beyond anything we considered possible. They appear to view this conflict as an opportunity rather than a burden. Recommend immediate withdrawal of all observation posts," another message read. "Human military activity suggests they may have detected our presence. These beings show no mercy to enemies." But the most frightening report came from a probe near Earth. Human children are celebrating the news of war. Their entertainment media glorifies combat. They appear to have been preparing for galactic conflict their entire lives, without realizing. Admiral Taehyung reviewed the final fleet roster aboard the Indomitable. The numbers were impressive, but what made him proud were the people. Veterans and rookies, professional soldiers and civilian volunteers, all united by a simple human principle: you help people in trouble. "Sir," Commander Wu Jin reported, "final fleet count is 912 vessels. Personnel count is 2.4 million. We have enough supplies for 6 months of sustained combat operations. Weapons status?" "Every ship is armed, sir. Dr. Soyeon's anti-biological weapons are loaded on the frontline vessels. Engineer Donghyun's modified civilian ships are equipped with some very creative weapon systems. And morale? Commander Woojin grinned. Sir, the crews are betting on who gets to kill the most aliens. Morale has never been higher. Admiral Taehyung nodded. In just 10 days, humanity had assembled the largest military fleet in their history. Ships that had never worked together now moved in perfect formation. People who had been strangers now trusted each other with their lives. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Prepare for jump to hyperspace. Destination: Valerian space. As the massive human armada prepared to leave Sol system, one last message arrived from the Valerians. It was from Ambassador Thailand, and it was desperate. Human, fleet, please hurry. The Kroleks have broken through our last defenses. They will reach Valeria Prime in 2 days. We cannot hold much longer. Our people are dying. Please, if you can hear this, we need you now. Admiral Taehyung's expression hardened. Change of plans. All ships maximum speed. We're not going to let them down. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying with them the hopes of an entire species and the fury of humanity unleashed. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Valerian territory, with a flash of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. 900 ships materialized in perfect battle formation, their weapons already charging and shields at maximum power. Ambassador Thailand was in the command bunker on Valeria Prime when his sensors officer shouted in amazement. Sir, massive energy signatures detected at the system edge. It's them. The humans are here. On his display screen, Thailand watched the impossible sight of nearly 1,000 alien warships arranged in attack formation. These were not the sleek, beautiful vessels that most civilized species built. Human ships looked like they were designed by someone who understood only one thing: how to kill efficiently. My ancestors, Thailand whispered. Look at the size of them. The human flagship, Indomitable, was 3 times larger than the biggest Valerian battleship. But it was not just big. It was covered in weapon ports, armor plating, and sensor arrays that screamed danger to anyone with eyes. Captain Jinwoo led the first wave of human destroyers toward the Kroleks formation, attacking the outer defense platforms. His ships moved fast and hit hard, using tactics that made no sense to either side watching. All ships, weapons free, Jinwoo ordered calmly. Let's show these bugs what a real fight looks like. The Kroleks had been slowly grinding down the last Valerian defenders when the human ships appeared. The hive mind controlling the swarm tried to process what was happening, but human tactics were unlike anything in its memory. Instead of forming defensive lines like civilized species, the humans scattered their ships and attacked from 12 different directions at once. Instead of trying to preserve their vessels, human captains deliberately rammed their ships into Kroleks bioships when their weapons ran low. Sergeant Kiwan watched the battle from the observation deck of his transport ship. Ma'am, he said to Captain Jisoo, are we really going to board those things? Captain Jisoo checked her assault rifle and smiled. Sergeant, we're going to do more than board them. We're going to take them apart from the inside. The Kroleks bioships were living creatures as much as vessels. They had thick armor and powerful weapons, but they had never fought anyone crazy, enough to land soldiers inside them during battle. Human boarding pods crashed through their hulls like bullets, carrying Marines who treated the nightmare interior of alien ships as just another battlefield. Admiral Hyuna coordinated the defense of Valeria Prime from her command ship. The planet was surrounded by Kroleks attack vessels, but now they were caught between the planet's remaining defenses and the arriving human fleet. Target their command ships first, she ordered. Cut off the head and the body dies. But the Kroleks had no single command ship. The hive mind was spread across the entire fleet. What Admiral Hyuna did not know was that this would actually work in humanity's favor. The hive mind had fought dozens of species, but they all followed predictable patterns. They valued individual life. They tried to minimize losses. They fought defensively and retreated when facing superior numbers. Humans did none of these things. Commander Woojin watched his sensor readings with fascination. The Kroleks keep trying to surround our ships, but our captains just fight their way out and attack something else. They don't understand our tactics because we don't have any tactics. We just attack whatever we can reach. On Valeria Prime, the remaining population watched the battle through their emergency broadcast systems. They saw human soldiers laughing, as they charged into combat. They watched human ships explode while ramming enemy vessels, and somehow more humans survived than died. "They fight like madmen," one Valerian observer said. "No," Ambassador Thylan replied. "Watching a human marine use a broken piece of Krolex armor as a weapon. They fight like predators who have never been prey." The turning point came when Captain Minho's heavy cruiser Soul's Pride engaged 3 Krolex dreadnoughts simultaneously. By all logical calculations, his ship should have been destroyed in minutes. Instead, he used the gravitational pull of Valeria Prime to slingshot around the planet and attack the enemy ships from below. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we're taking heavy damage. Shields are down to 30%. "Then, we get closer," Captain Minho replied. "They can't hit us if we're inside their weapon range." The Soul's Pride dove between the Krolex ships, firing at point-blank range and using the enemy vessels as cover against each other. It was insane. It was brilliant. It worked. Dr. Soyan's anti-biological weapons proved devastatingly effective. The Krolex bioships were designed to heal from normal energy weapons, but human weapons were specifically created to prevent healing and cause maximum pain to living tissue. "The enemy ships are retreating from sectors 7 through 12, reported Lieutenant Nari. "They're actually running away from our weapon signatures." For the first time in its existence, the Krolex hive mind felt something it had never experienced: fear. These humans did not just fight to survive. They fought to completely destroy their enemies. Every human action seemed designed to cause maximum damage with no regard for their own safety. The Krolex had consumed peaceful civilizations that surrendered when faced with overwhelming force. They had destroyed proud warrior species that fought bravely but logically. They had never encountered anything like humans. Engineer Dong Yun's modified civilian ships proved surprisingly effective. Cargo haulers with mining lasers cut through Krolex armor like knives. Passenger liners converted to missile platforms launched swarms of guided weapons. Even luxury yachts armed with industrial tools became deadly fighters. "Sir," Admiral Kangman reported to Admiral Taehyung, "the civilian volunteers are performing better than some of our regular Navy ships. They're not following standard procedures, so the enemy can't predict their movements." The battle raged for 18 hours. When it was over, the Krolex attack fleet was destroyed or fleeing. Not a single human ship had been lost, though many were heavily damaged. The Valerian defenders could not believe what they had witnessed. "Admiral Taehyung," Ambassador Thylan's voice came over the communication channel. "We cannot adequately express our gratitude. You have saved our world and our people." "The job's not done yet," Admiral Taehyung replied grimly. "This was just one attack fleet. According to your data, the main Krolex force is still out there. We're going to find them and finish this." Ambassador Thylan felt a chill run through his body. The humans had just won an impossible victory, and they were already planning their next attack. What kind of species were these Deathworlders? 3 days after the victory at Valeria Prime, Admiral Taehyung received the reinforcements he had requested from Earth. Fleet Admiral Sungjae arrived with the Seoul Defense Fleet's heavy battleships, vessels so large they had to be built in space because they could never land on a planet. "Taehyung," Admiral Sungjae said as his massive flagship Earthbreaker took position in the fleet, "I brought everything that could shoot straight and fly fast. How bad are these Krolex?" "Bad enough," Admiral Taehyung replied. "But they're about to learn why the Galactic Council was afraid of us." The human fleet had grown to over 1,500 ships. News of the victory had spread through human space, and more volunteers arrived every day. Miners brought ships loaded with explosives. Scientists brought experimental weapons. Even retired veterans came out of hiding to join the fight. Captain Minji had been studying Krolex tactics and biology since the first battle. Her analysis was disturbing but useful. "The hive mind learns from every encounter," she explained to the assembled fleet commanders, "but it only understands logical tactics. We need to be completely unpredictable." "How unpredictable?" asked Captain Jinwoo. "I want to use our soldiers as living ammunition," Captain Minji replied. "Launch boarding pods with no intention of retrieving them. Let our people fight inside enemy ships until those ships are dead. The room fell silent. In any civilized military, this would be considered a war crime. Among humans, it was called Tuesday. "I volunteer my Marines for the first wave," Captain Jisoo said immediately. "Count my people in too," added Commander Hyunwoo from the fighter squadrons. The Krolex Queen Mind, the central intelligence controlling the entire swarm, was becoming increasingly concerned. Reports from the front lines made no sense. The humans fought in ways that violated every natural law of survival. Individual human soldiers would deliberately sacrifice themselves to kill a single Krolex drone. Human ships would ram bioships 10 times their size just to create openings for other human vessels. Most disturbing of all, humans seemed to enjoy combat more as it became more dangerous. "Send the 7th and 9th battle swarms to reinforce the front," the Queen Mind ordered. "These creatures must be contained before they spread their madness to other species." But the reinforcements arrived to find human tactics had evolved again. Captain Minji's new boarding strategy was devastating. Human soldiers launched themselves at Krolex bioships in what appeared to be suicide attacks, but somehow most of them survived while the enemy ships died. Sergeant Kiwan led his squad through the intestines of a Krolex cruiser, using flamethrowers and explosives to destroy the ship's organs from inside. "Boys," he called over the radio, "I think we found the heart. Time to perform surgery." The explosion could be seen from 3 sectors away. Dr. Soyeon's research had produced new horrors for the Krolex to face. Her latest weapon was a virus that attacked the connection between the hive mind and individual Krolex units. Infected creatures became confused and started attacking their own forces. "The beauty of biological warfare," she explained to her assistants, "is that the enemy is biological. They designed themselves to be vulnerable to the right kind of attack." The psychological impact on the Krolex was severe. For millions of years they had been the apex predators of the galaxy. Now they faced a species that seemed to consider them merely annoying insects to be eliminated. Commander Hyunwoo's fighter squadrons developed a new tactic they called ramming speed. Instead of engaging in traditional dogfights, human pilots would accelerate directly at enemy fighters and fire all weapons at point-blank range. The collision usually destroyed both ships, but human pilots had better survival training. "Sir," his wing commander reported, "we've lost 12 fighters in the last engagement." "How many enemy fighters did we destroy?" 43, sir." "Then, we're winning. Launch the next wave." The Krolex tried to adapt by using larger ships that could not be rammed effectively. The humans adapted by building bigger rams. Engineer Dong-Yun created modified freighters whose only purpose was to crash into enemy vessels at maximum speed. "It's not elegant," he admitted, "but elegance is for species that care about style over results." General Yunsu established forward bases on captured Krolex worlds, turning defense into offense. Human ground forces began hunting Krolex survivors, with systematic efficiency that scared even their alien allies. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Valerians are asking if we're planning to take prisoners." "Prisoners?" General Junsu looked confused. "From a species that eats entire civilizations? I don't think so." The tide of war turned completely when Admiral Kangmin's Outer Rim fleet discovered the location of a Krolex breeding world. Instead of reporting to higher command and waiting for orders, he attacked immediately with everything he had. The battle was brutal and one-sided. Krolex breeding facilities were designed to be protected by the fleet, not attacked by insane Deathworlders who considered overwhelming odds to be a fun challenge. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving surrender signals from the Krolex ground forces." Admiral Kangmin paused for a moment. In human military tradition, accepting surrender was always preferred when possible. But these were not human enemies. These were galaxy-eating monsters who had never shown mercy to anyone. "Signal denied," he said finally. "Continue bombardment until the surface is glass." The destruction of their first breeding world sent shockwaves through the Krolex hive mind. For the first time in their species' history, they faced the possibility of extinction. The Queen Mind began recalling all Krolex forces from across the galaxy. Every swarm, every ship, every biological weapon they possessed was ordered to converge on human space for one final battle. "They're massing everything they have," Intelligence Officer Nari reported to Admiral Taehyung. Sensor readings show over 10,000 Krolex vessels moving toward our position. Good, Admiral Taehyung replied. It will save us the trouble of hunting them down individually. The final battle was approaching, and humanity was ready. They had learned Krolex tactics, developed anti-biological weapons, and proven that their reputation as dangerous Deathworlders was well earned. But most importantly, they had discovered something the Krolex never understood. Humans fought harder when protecting others than when protecting themselves. The galaxy was about to witness the true fury of awakened humanity. The final Krolex Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 bioships, each one a living weapon capable of destroying a planet. They came from every corner of Krolex space, controlled by a hive mind that had decided humanity must be completely eliminated. Admiral Taehyung stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the sensor readings that showed the approaching enemy fleet. His own force had grown to nearly 2,000 ships, but they were still outnumbered 5-1. Sir, Commander Woojin reported, final count on the Krolex fleet is confirmed. 10,300 vessels, including 12 super dreadnoughts, we've never seen before. What about our fleet status? 1,847 ships ready for combat. All weapons loaded with Dr. Soyun's anti-biological compounds. All boarding parties equipped for extended operations inside enemy vessels. Admiral Taehyung nodded. The numbers looked bad, but humans had never let bad numbers stop them from doing what was right. Signal all ships, he ordered. Today we finish this. No Krolex vessel leaves this system alive. The battle began at maximum range, with both fleets firing everything they had, but the humans had learned from their previous encounters. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, they scattered into small groups and attacked from unexpected angles. Captain Jinwoo led his destroyer squadron in what appeared to be a suicide charge directly at the center of the Krolex formation. At the last moment, his ships dove below the main fleet and attacked the command bioships from underneath. All weapons, continuous fire, Jinwoo ordered. We're not leaving until these ships are dead. His destroyers disappeared into the massive Krolex fleet like sharks swimming through a school of fish. They were surrounded and outnumbered, but they fought with the desperate fury that only humans could manage. General Junsu had convinced Admiral Taehyung to let him try something that had never been attempted in space warfare. He loaded 20,000 ground troops into assault transports and launched them directly at the largest Krolex bioships. Sir, his aide said nervously, this violates every rule of space combat. Ground troops can't fight capital ships. Watch us, General Junsu replied grimly. The human soldiers crashed through the hulls of Krolex dreadnoughts and began systematically destroying them from inside. They used explosives, flamethrowers, and even hand weapons to kill the living ships. It was brutal, personal, and completely effective. Dr. Chaeyoung had developed new weapons during the weeks of fighting. Her latest creation was a biological weapon that turned the Krolex's greatest strength against them. The hive-mind connection that made them so coordinated became a weakness when infected with human-designed viruses. Release the neural disruptors, she ordered from her research ship. Let's see how well they fight when they can't think straight. The effect was immediate and devastating. Krolex ships began attacking each other as the virus spread through their biological communication networks. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable became chaos. Admiral Seokjin led deep strike missions against the Krolex super dreadnoughts. These massive vessels were protected by shields and armor that could withstand planet-killing weapons, but they had never faced human creativity. Launch the mining charges, he ordered. His ships carried modified asteroid-cracking explosives that were designed to break apart solid rock. Against biological armor, they were even more effective. The super dreadnoughts began breaking apart as the mining charges detonated inside their vital organs. These ships had been the Krolex's ultimate weapons, but human industrial equipment turned them into expanding clouds of dead tissue. Captain Minji's boarding tactics had evolved into something that terrified both sides. Her Marines no longer tried to capture enemy ships. They simply landed, destroyed everything they could reach, and died fighting. But somehow more humans survived these impossible missions than should have been possible. Ma'am, Sergeant Kiwan, Reported over the radio from inside a Krolex bioship. We've killed the brain. This ship is dead. Requesting pickup. Negative, Sergeant. Move to the next target. We're not done yet. The Krolex Queen Mind watched its fleet being systematically destroyed and finally understood what it was facing. These humans were not just another species to be consumed. They were apex predators from a world so dangerous that it had created the ultimate warriors. Every advantage the Krolex possessed became useless against human tactics. Superior numbers meant nothing when humans used enemy ships as weapons against each other. Advanced technology was worthless when humans simply ignored it and attacked with primitive but effective methods. Most frightening of all, the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Intercepted communications showed human soldiers laughing, joking, and competing to see who could kill the most Krolex. They treated galactic warfare like a sport. Engineer Dong-hyun's converted civilian ships proved to be the most effective weapons in the human fleet. A luxury cruise liner armed with mining lasers cut through 3 Krolex cruisers. A cargo hauler loaded with industrial explosives took out an entire enemy squadron by ramming their formation and detonating. "Sir," his assistant reported, "the civilian volunteers are asking for more dangerous missions. They say the current assignments are too easy." "Too easy," Dong-hyun repeated in amazement. "They're fighting bioships the size of cities and they want more challenge." The battle raged for 2 full days. When it ended, the Krolex Armada was completely destroyed. Not a single enemy vessel escaped to carry news of their defeat back to Krolex space. Human losses were surprisingly light. Less than 200 ships were destroyed, and most of their crews survived thanks to superior rescue operations and medical technology. "Admiral," Lieutenant Nari reported, "we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Every species that was hiding from the Krolex wants to know what happened." "Tell them the Krolex problem has been solved," Admiral Tae-hyung replied, "permanently." But the humans were not finished. Intelligence reports showed that Krolex space contained dozens of breeding worlds and resource stations. The hive mind was wounded but not dead. "Signal the fleet," Admiral Tae-hyung ordered. "Set course for Krolex space. We're going to make sure this never happens again." Ambassador Thailand, watching from Valeria Prime, felt a chill of fear mixed with gratitude. The humans had saved his people and eliminated the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. But their methods were so ruthless and efficient that he wondered if they had simply replaced one apex predator with another. The Krolex had consumed civilizations. The humans were about to do something worse. They were going to make sure the Krolex never existed again. The galaxy was safe, but now it belonged to the Deathworlders from Seoul. 2 years after the final battle, the Krolex swarm no longer existed. The human fleet had systematically hunted down every breeding world, every resource station, and every trace of the hive mind that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years. Emperor Taejun, formerly Admiral Taehyung, stood before the Galactic Council as humanity's first official representative. The council chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all watching the human leader with a mixture of awe and terror. "Honored representatives," Emperor Taejun began, "humanity accepts its place in galactic civilization. We offer our protection to all peaceful species and our friendship to those who wish it." The Zephyrian ambassador, a tall creature with multiple arms, spoke nervously. "Emperor Taejun, we are grateful for your species' intervention against the Krolex, but we must ask about the methods used. Complete extermination of an entire species is considered extreme by galactic standards." Emperor Taejun's expression remained calm. "Ambassador, the Krolex consumed 17 civilizations before we stopped them. They showed no mercy, took no prisoners, and gave no quarter. We simply treated them as they treated others." "But surely some form of containment would have been more appropriate," insisted the Altarian representative. "Containment assumes they could be contained," Emperor Taejun replied. "The Krolex were a cancer that had to be completely removed. We did what was necessary to ensure they could never threaten anyone again." The council fell silent. The humans had solved their greatest problem in the most direct way possible, but their efficiency was frightening. Ambassador Thylon, now serving as the Valerian representative to the Council, stood to speak. If I may address the Assembly, I have seen humanity at war. They are indeed ruthless and terrifying enemies, but they are also honorable allies who risk everything to protect others. He paused, remembering the sight of human soldiers dying to save Valerian civilians they had never met. We requested their help when no one else would answer. They came without asking for payment or territory. They fought not for conquest but to save lives. Yes, their methods are extreme, but so was the threat they faced. Captain Young-ho, now promoted to admiral and serving as military liaison, spoke next. The Galactic Council fears us because we are effective. We understand this fear. But we also understand duty. When peaceful beings ask for help against monsters, humans answer that call. The council chamber erupted in whispered conversations. Several species had been preparing to request humanity's intervention in their own conflicts, but now they were reconsidering. The Kaelarian delegate raised a tentacle. Admiral Young-ho, what are humanity's intentions regarding territorial expansion? Your military capabilities could easily conquer most of our worlds. Admiral Young-ho smiled, but it was not a comforting expression. Honorable delegate, humans have no interest in ruling alien worlds. We prefer to stay in our own space. However, we will respond to requests for assistance from species facing existential threats. And how do you determine what constitutes an existential threat? Asked the Thraxian representative. Simple, Admiral Young-ho replied. If someone is trying to eat you, enslave your entire population or destroy your civilization, we consider that an existential threat. Our response will be proportional to the threat level. The unspoken message was clear. Humanity would determine the threat level themselves, and their idea of proportional response involved complete enemy elimination. Dr. Soyeon, now head of the Human Science Exchange Program, presented her latest research to a gathering of galactic scientists. Her audience was fascinated and horrified by human military biotechnology. Our anti-Krolex weapons were specifically designed to target their biological systems, she explained. We can adapt these techniques to counter any biological threat. The key is understanding that sometimes the most effective weapon is one that causes fear, as well as damage. A Centaurian scientist asked nervously, Dr. Soyeon, could these weapons be used against non-hostile biological species? Of course, she replied matter-of-factly. But why would we want to? We develop weapons to protect our friends, not harm them. Unless, of course, they stop being friends. The research presentation ended with several alien scientists requesting immediate transfers to other fields of study. General Junsu established the Human Peacekeeping Force, a military organization dedicated to preventing future conflicts before they required full-scale intervention. His methods were simple and effective. When two species have a border dispute, he explained to his staff, we send a ship to orbit the disputed area. We explain to both sides that the first one to start shooting will be considered an aggressor. Surprisingly, most conflicts resolve themselves quickly after that. Captain Jisoo opened the first human military academy branch outside Sol System. The curriculum focused on teaching alien species how to defend themselves against threats that their own military doctrine could not handle. The key to human tactics, she told her mixed species class, is accepting that sometimes you have to take risks to achieve victory. Most species fight to avoid losing. Humans fight to win completely. Her students, representing 12 different civilizations, practiced human-style boarding actions and close-quarters combat. The graduation rate was low, but those who completed the training became the elite defenders of their homeworlds. The economic impact of humanity's emergence was enormous. Human industrial techniques developed on a harsh world with limited resources revolutionized manufacturing across the galaxy. Human medical technology, refined through centuries of treating combat injuries, advanced galactic healthcare by decades. But the psychological impact was even greater. For the first time in galactic history, aggressive species faced the possibility of meeting something more dangerous than themselves. Several small-scale conflicts ended immediately when humans offered to mediate. Ambassador Thylon visited Earth. as part of a cultural exchange program. What he saw there both amazed and terrified him. Human children played games that simulated galactic warfare. Human entertainment featured stories of heroic soldiers fighting impossible odds. Human education included mandatory physical training that would be considered military conditioning on most worlds. "Your entire civilization is designed to produce warriors," he observed to Emperor Tejun during a private meeting. "Not warriors," Emperor Tejun corrected. "Survivors. Earth taught us that the universe is dangerous and unforgiving. We learned to be dangerous and unforgiving in return. But we also learned to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And what happens when there are no more threats to fight?" Emperor Tejun smiled. "Ambassador, have you seen the reports from our deep space exploration teams? The universe is full of wonders and mysteries. Some of them are probably hostile. We'll find something." The story concluded with a scene that would become legend throughout the galaxy. A group of Valerian children, playing in a park on their homeworld, acted out the great battle that had saved their civilization. Every child wanted to play the role of the brave human soldiers who came from the Deathworld to save them. "I'm Admiral Tae-hyung," one child announced, holding a toy weapon. "We're going to save everyone and blow up the bad monsters." "I'm Captain Jisoo," another child declared. "I'm going to board the enemy ship and fight them with my bare hands." Ambassador Thailand watched the children play and realized something profound. The humans had not just saved the galaxy from the Kroleks. They had given every peaceful species something they had never had before: the absolute certainty that someone would come to help them if monsters appeared in the dark. The galaxy was safer now, protected by Deathworlders who considered defending others to be the highest honor. But it was also a galaxy where the most dangerous predators wore human faces and called themselves peacekeepers. And somehow, that was exactly what the universe needed.